Hello, daily drafters. Today is Tuesday, November 23rd, and thanks for joining me for today's daily draft. Let's go ahead and get on there for a Innistrad Crimson Vow draft, and hopefully we don't open another land pack one pick one like we have for the last ever, really. We do open not a great rare here, a 2-mana 3/3 that can exploit to basically do nothing in limited. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you take a damage. So I feel like you only want this card if you already know where you're going with your deck. I don't think it's a great start to a deck because it kind of requires you to be a little bit aggressive, right? I do see a Bleed Dry here, though, and I think that's a very easy pack one, pick one. I think I'm happy to take Bleed Dry and pack one, pick one in this format because it, again, we keep talking about removal, and it's just a really good one. Really catch-all and exiles. So we'll take that easy Bleed Dry here and see what comes our way. Grolnok the Omnivore. It's a 4-mana 3/3 that when it attacks, you mill 3. And then you can, as long as this is on the battlefield, you can play permanent cards that you milled or were milled any other way. I don't think the blue-green deck is real, honestly. I mean, if I was already in blue-green and I saw this pass to me, I would take it. But there's a reason that our opponent, or our person to our left or our right or whatever, didn't take this in pack one, pick one as well. I'm going to go ahead and stay black here with the Blood Fountain. It's not an exciting second pick, but there's really not much else going on here. Let's see. 4-mana, 2/4, non-creature spell deals 1 damage. Storm Chaser Drake, Fleeting Spirit. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and stay black. I want to... Bleed Dry is the best card that we have or would be in that pack, so I want to see if we can stay with it here. Another pretty bad pack here. Blood Hypnotist goes well in a black-red shell, right? Blood Fountain gives us a blood token that the Blood Hypnotist can then use. Oakshade Stalker, 3-mana 3/3. Or a 5-mana 3/3 with Flash. Here's that Ceremonial Knife I was talking about. So if we are talking about last video. So if we look to get into black-red possibly, wheeling this knife or even this Belligerent Guest here would be a really good pickup for us. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take the Blood Hypnotist and see if black-red is open enough for us. It looks like it might be here. So we have an Alluring Suitor, another Vampire. We have a Voldaren Epicure, a card I would absolutely play in a black-red deck, and a Blood-Crazed Socialite. Really good options here. I'm going to go ahead and take the uncommon Vampire here. It is another 3-drop, which is a consideration to go ahead and take the Socialite, which I also think is a good card in this deck. There is another Knife here, which also could wheel. So we're happy if any of these 3 cards wheel out of this pack for us here. So let's go ahead and take this uncommon. Devils, no. Ancestral Anger. Pyre Spawn, Daybreak Combatants, aim for the head. I have been impressed by Ripsaw, but I don't think that it's good enough to make me want to move off the plane that we already have. Combatants is not a vampire, but it is a good aggressive card. We've played it a lot on this channel already, and it's impressed. Ancestral Anger. I don't know. Maybe this could be good if you get a lot. And if we get a second to last pick and it wheels again in this pack, maybe we can go ahead and consider taking it, trying to get in. But I don't think we need to take it this early over just a good 3-drop. Now, we do have all 3 drops in this deck, so we'll have to keep that in mind as we go forward, picking other creatures here. But we'll go ahead and take that. So here's another 3-drop, but it is a Vampire. There's another Knife. We don't need to take this one because I think at least one of these will wheel. There is a Sanguine Statuette. So when ETBs create a blood, whenever you sacrifice a blood, it can become a 3/3. Pyre Spawn, Lightning Wolf not looking to be in this deck. Whenever you sacrifice a blood, gain a life. Or Sanguine Statuette here. So it's between the Statuette and the Guest. I think I'm going to go with the Statuette for the sole purpose of the fact that all of our creatures are 3-drops right now. And I just want to diversify a little bit. So this still gives us blood and is a blood payoff. And in black-red, you theoretically will have a lot of it, right? So Looking good for us. Diver's Ska being a really good card here this late. We have Blood Fountain. We don't need a second. Blood Crazed Socialite, Grizzly Ritual, and Voldaren Epicure are all cards I think I would play in this deck. Voldaren Epicure lower on the curve, and Blood Crazed Socialite just a really, with the amount of blood that we're making, I think this could be an enormous threat, right? And I think we can get these a little bit later if we want. I think there's one floating around right now that might come back to us anyway. So let's take the 4-drop. There's a Specimens and a Ritual. I do like Arm the Cathars, like I mentioned last video. When we pack one, picked one, didn't, never saw it. So we'll take, I think we'll take Ritual here. Playing one is fine. Having unconditional removal is super important. We do have a Bleed Dry, but this one also makes blood, right? I think you need sacrifice synergies to make Specimen what you want. So we'll go ahead and take the Ritual here. And this is looking great for us. We have a Belligerent Guest and a Gift of Fangs. Wedding Invitation if we really wanted it, but I don't think we need it. So because of the 3-drop problem, I'm going to go ahead and take the cheap removal, or in our deck, could act as 1 mana +2/+2 enchantment aura. So we'll go ahead and take that. Ragged Recluse, don't necessarily need to think about playing that one too much. However, with the amount of blood we have, maybe it becomes playable. It's just a 2 mana 2/1 that can trade with their creature that can eventually become a 3/3. So maybe with the amount of blood that we're likely to have, this card could get better. So here's the Knife I was talking about, or a Wedding Invitation. I'll take the Knife. With the amount of blood that we're already making, we may not even need to run a Knife, but it is a good aggressive, gives it +1/+0, and every time it attacks, you get a blood, right? This deck, with the amount of blood we're making already, looks like it could even run possibly like 15 lands if we really needed to. We'll take a Blood Servitor. Don't have any idea if I want to play it. And we'll get a last pick Knife here. Awesome. Great. So we get a Headless Rider, 3 mana 3/1, and whenever it or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2. How many zombies do we have? Literal 0. Okay, so if we're looking to be black-red, which I think we are, Headless Rider's not at its best. It's a 3 mana 3/1 that when it dies creates a 2/2, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But we have 0 combos with it right now, which is not great. And there's a Bolt here and an Abrade here. As much as I would like to take this card, the fact that we have no combos with it and there's good cheap removal here means I think we need to pass it, unfortunately. So do we want to take Abrade? Do we want to take Bolt? This is a difficult pick here. I wouldn't necessarily blame you to go either way. I'm going to side with the Abrade, but I wouldn't necessarily blame you for taking Bolt in this situation either, right? So we have Belligerent Guest, we have Gluttonous Guest, all of the guests here. Don't think we need Farmer, don't think we need Wolf. Honeymoon Hearse has not impressed. Cemetery Protector can't really be for us right now. Another Wedding Invitation. So I think we're deciding between a guest that is gluttonous or belligerent. I think we'll go ahead and take our first gluttonous guest here. More blood, gain us more life. Either one I think would be fine necessarily. So here we have a Blood Petal Celebrant. Great 2-drop. Great aggressive 2-drop. Really like to see this card. Would love to get more, right? Would play an Epicure. Haven't gotten one of them yet, but I would play one. We have a Ragged Recluse already. Don't think we need any more. So let's go ahead. Take the Celebrant. Stensia Uprising. 4 mana at the beginning of your end step. Create a 1/1. Then if you control exactly 13 permanents, sacrifice it. Deal 7 to any target. I think this is a little bit finicky to make work in Limited. What if you draw this when you have more than 13? Then it just makes a 1/1 at the end of every turn, which is not awful, but Blood Fountain, don't need it. This is a zombie, but not really a vampire. It is an objectively good card. We have a Lacerate Flesh and a Belligerent Guest. Our 3-drop slot is looking pretty overcrowded already, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Scavenger here instead of the Guest, for the reason of the fact that our 3-drop slot is looking pretty crowded here. Change of Fortune. Nope, don't need that. Gluttonous Guest, Point of Discussion. Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy Gluttonous Guest here, and we're just going to be on all 3 drops in this deck, right? Unless we find another Celebrant, which we do here. So we'll take another good 2-drop here. All the Gluttonous Guests are floating around here, so we can have access to as much blood as we really want, honestly. So I would love to find a blood payoff. We have 1 Socialite so far. Blood Hypnotist is another good one that we already have. Sanguine Statuette. There's a couple that we have already with the amount of blood that we're making here. So little bit of a swing and a miss here. I don't think we necessarily need a point of discussion. Again, it's another 3-drop. Yeah, so I don't think we'd be playing any of these cards anyway. Right, only card in our color is Aim for the Head. Except for Lantern of the Lost, which I don't think we need here. So let's take Aim for the Head. I don't think we need to consider running it, at least not yet. So we have access to a Courier Bat here. How much life gain are we having? This could gain life on its back side. All the Gluttonous, we only have 2, but these could gain life. Scavenger gains life. I think having access to a bat here is going to be pretty good for us. There's a Vampire Kiss. I think we only really need to run this if we're desperate for blood tokens, and I don't think we are, so I'll put it in the board for now. There is an Epicure. Really good to see that. Love to see that one wheel. Another Fountain or a Guest. We'll take the Belligerent Guest here. I don't think we need access to 2 fountains necessarily. We just need to look out for this as we go forward, right? We can't really take too many more 3-drops. The only problem is every time we've taken a 3-drop, there really hasn't been any other card in the pack that we really want to take over the 3-drop, unfortunately. So we haven't had much of a choice. See, again, it's the only one left. We whiff on the rare one more time. So Markov Retribution is going to be very, very good in our deck. It's 3 mana, +1/+0 to everything, and basically kill a creature. Would love to wheel a Socialite if we could. Would love to wheel a Gift of Fangs. But I think we need the interaction here. What's our creature count at? 15. So we have a lot of creatures. Unfortunately, well, okay, so I just talked about 3-drops again, didn't I? Maybe that's an argument to take the Socialite. I don't know. I think this card is just so much better, though. This card is just really what we need as far as interaction goes, right? Dollhouse of Horrors. That's a little slow for our deck. I do like the card. I think it has the ability to be very powerful, but I think it's a little slow for the deck that we have built already. We have another Retribution. We have a Squire, which I don't think is really what we're looking for. There's a Scavenger. There's also a Flame Blessed Bolt. I'm going to take the cheap removal here to make sure our creatures can actually get in. I would play another Retribution, I think, but gosh, with the amount of 3-drops we have, it just scares me. I'd play another Scavenger as well, but it's really hard to pass up on premium removal in this set, as we see another Bleed Dry here. So we're going to go ahead and take the Bleed Dry. What does Howling Moon do? 3 mana, gives a wolf +2/+2, and then you get a wolf when they play 2 spells. It seems a little finicky to set that up. Yep, definitely happy to see another Bleed Dry here. We'll take that. Villager or Scavenger? Let's take Scavenger. Yeah, so our creature count's at 15, now at 16. We are going to have several cuts to make. And then this second Statuette's going to be really good for the amount of blood that we're making. This can really help us lean on the aggression here. Let's see. So Farmer, Gargantua, Phalanx, Vampire's Kiss, Reckless Impulse. None of this is really for us at all. We can't really play any of that. Don't think we need a second knife, especially with the amount of blood that we're taking, or we're making already, so... So this will be our first time in black-red on the channel here, and I think black-red may be the best deck in the format. It's pretty close. There are a lot of color pairs that are supported here. I haven't really found one that I'm very unexcited to be in, but I think black-red has seemed pretty good on the other side of the battlefield so far. Nothing here for us. Of course, we're going to have to try to battle our way through with 0 rares in the deck again, which is going to be fighting an uphill battle in this format, but that's what we got to do. Really good wheeling the Gift of Fangs here. Great to see that. So had we taken that Headless Horseman 3-mana 3/1 in pack 2, we ended up with 2 zombies here. And they're both the Diregraph Scavengers. So, well, maybe I guess we ended up with 3. I mean, it probably would have been a good card. I can't remember exactly what we took over it. Maybe it was our first Flame Blessed Bolt. So there's another one. Do we just keep taking Scavengers here? I think we do. This is a really good way to trade off early with some of these 3-drops and then just start mowing them down with Scavengers, right? Really late Traveling Minister. That card is impressed. Don't think we need a 3-mana 2/2 for an extra blood there, so we can go ahead and remove that one now. We'll take a look at deck build and see what we got. Alright, so here at deck building, we have 29. Let's take a look at what makes blood tokens, which are flood insurance, right? So Epicure, we have 2 celebrants, we have 3 guests, kind of 4 guests. A socialite makes 1, fountain makes 1, knife could make 1, double statuette, Grizzly Ritual. We have a lot of blood tokens here. So I think 16 lands is certainly on the table. I don't know about 15, because that wouldn't really let us curve out as well. As far as cuts go, I don't think we need the knife just to make another token, because we have enough ways to do that already. Do we need the ritual? It's pretty expensive. We have 2 unconditional removal spells, 1 cheaper one, another cheaper one, 2 cheaper. I mean, we have a lot of removal, and we're hoping to kind of get in and then kind of drain them out with scavengers near the end here. Let's take a look at our 3-drop slot. I think our worst 3-drop, maybe a guest or a belligerent guest. Possibly a Ragged Recluse, but I think I want to go ahead and keep that because it's a 2-drop for us. Blood Fountain can return some of these things. As far as the rest of these cards down here go, I think I want to keep them all. Which if we cut 3 creatures, we'd be down to 14, which is I think is fine. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Belligerent Guest, 1 Gluttonous Guest. We do have 4 Scavengers. Do we want to play 4 Scavengers here? So these likely won't be dying in combat. These very well could be, along with the Celebrants. So as far as exiling creatures from graveyards, we have a decent amount of way to do that. We'll also be removing a good amount of creatures. These can almost be counted as a creature with the amount of blood I think that we're going to end up with here. How many vampires do we have? We have 8 vampires, so I think Retribution seems fine. Do we want to cut a scavenger here is the question. I think we can go ahead and get away with cutting 1 scavenger. Yeah, and then I think 16 lands will be just fine to run. And then we can go ahead and think about adjusting the land count if we notice we're making more or less blood than expected. But I think 16 is going to be fine, and I would be surprised if we flood out too much with this deck. So, all right, let's see if our hodgepodge of commons and uncommons can be competitive here. All right, so we'll go ahead and go second here. I think this is a keep. We have an early removal spell if they play something, and then a 3-drop. So there's a target for our Gift of Fangs, assuming it's not a vampire, and it's not. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start with, I guess it depends on what they play, but yeah, let's do the Suitor. So that next turn we could play Statuette, sacrifice it, and get in with both of these creatures, transforming this, but it does depend on what they play. So we'll go ahead and play the Suitor first. I mean, they do have access to 5 mana here, so there's a decent chance they just play something that's too large, just like that. So no longer have any more attacks, but we do have the Scavenger to threaten a block on the Lumberknot and nab their Taxidermist here. No attacks. So do we block with our Scavenger? I think it's fine. Oop. Yeah, there we go. Because we can't be attacking on the backswing with our Suitor, so we'll go ahead and block. And they play a 4/4. Okay. So we can play the Guest. Next turn we can sacrifice a blood if we need to, and then return our Scavenger to our hand while playing the Bat. So I think we need to do that. We'll get a blood. And then as far as playing the Statuette versus the Celebrant, I think we'll go ahead and play the Celebrant here. So we don't have great blocks against them, unfortunately. And they are getting priority, which means if we go for a double block and get blown out, that's not great. But can we just take 8 is the question. I'm not sure about that. So in order to keep our Courier Bat combo alive, we need to keep the Gluttonous Guest alive, which means we need to block with Alluring Suitor and Celebrant here. So it would be a straight up 2-for-1 even if they have nothing. And if they have something, then it's just a 2-for-1 in a different way, and they keep a creature. If they just pass and let it go to night, then they have a 6/4 unblockable after we have taken 8. So I'm just going to try to see if we can trade here. I don't expect this to go well, but yeah, I mean, they had something and there wasn't really much we were going to be able to do about it. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this Courier Bat combo going. So unfortunately, we still have awful blocks. We're probably going to have to take 8 here. Maybe they're flooding out, but it doesn't seem to really matter. So let's take 8. And then they're going to pass and give themselves an unblockable creature here. So we need to get rid of Blood Hypnotist because we're on the back foot. So Gift of Fangs kills the Butler, but then they would be able to return Weaver or Spore Crawler. It can make this into a 4-power creature, which changes the clock for us. I don't like doing that, but it makes it a 4/2. And then our statuette could block it. What I like doing for mana efficiency here is playing the Scavenger and the Gift of Fangs gain 2. We have good blocks with the Scavenger on the Lumberknot, and then this could get in for 4, but the next turn when we play the Statuette, it can't really get in anymore. It's also going to flip back into a 4/4 because we're playing 2 spells. So let's do that. And then we'll double spell. Let's get rid of their Spore Crawler. And I think we'll attack with the bat here. Okay, so that leaves us not having great blocks. So basically next turn they're going to have a 2/2, a 1/2, a 2/2, a 2/2, and a 4/4. So we won't be blocking. Well, we'll be bouncing, but that's it. Yeah, so this means they have another combat trick, but we have to block, so they're just gonna go ahead and flip it again, right? Let's see. Let's play the Statuette. We don't have good blocks on the Lumberknot, unfortunately. So let's play the Recluse. And we could use the blood to make this a 3/3, but that doesn't give us access to have another 3/3. So we'll double spell and flip that Raider back. And I think we need to keep up our Statuette. Do anything here? No. So do they have removal? Yes, they do. Another Wolf Strike. Okay. So we have decent blocks now, assuming they don't have another trick. So let's see what they do. So they leave back their Mariner. Interesting. We're going to go ahead and use our blood. And animate our Statuette. Take action. A decent draw for us. We can go ahead and do this and bounce this here. Right now, if we killed that, they're returning something. They're probably looking to try to get the Lumberknot back if we ever kill the Butler. But let's go ahead and block like this. Hopefully they don't have a trick. They do. That's nice. Still no good blocks on the Lumberknot. So we have a 1 mana deal 2 in the deck, as well as another Gift of Fangs. So I'm gonna play for the 1 mana deal 2 and see if we can draw that. Okay, that's a good draw for us. We'll be taking 4 here, but we have good blocks otherwise. So let's just bounce this one. They're just looking to get something back. Although at this point, so they're going to be getting something back at some point. And right now the best thing they can get back is a Weaver of Blossoms, which is really not that bad for us. So I think we can double block and let them do that. Because if this dies somehow, and then this dies, they can get something better back. I think we're fine giving them a Weaver of Blossoms. Assuming they don't save this with a trick here, so... Okay, interesting decision. So they drew a Weaver of Blossoms, and then they're going to play a Doom to Center. Okay. So we'll play Epic here. Make sure it doesn't flip back to Knight. And then hold up Bleed Dry for their Lumberknot. We are a little bit on the back foot here still. We have to find a way to get damage through at some point, which is going to be difficult. But we have a little bit of flood insurance with all the blood that we're making. So they're going to be attacking with what's going to turn into a 2-3. We could effectively trade with that for just the Epic here. Seems good. So let's do that. And then kill the Lumberknot. See what they drew. A land. Alright. So we have another Bleed Dry. That's good. That's good. They do have a decent attack now with the Raider. We could trade for 1 guest, which seems good. We don't want to use our blood to get rid of this, however, though. So let's pass that back. We'll double block the... Well, we can't double block the Raider. Good thing we drew Bleed Dry, so... Go ahead and kill that so we don't die. They did draw a Scavenger, which is not great news for us. Now we're down to 2. And that does have good attacks on us here too, so... Well, we'll go ahead and play that. Yeah, let's give it to itself. Because we're not blocking the Scavenger. We don't have good blocks on the Scavenger, so we have to take at least 1 hit from that. So we'll give itself +2 and attack with it. Because again, we have to start pushing damage somewhere, otherwise we're just going to lose. So we have a good block on the Dissenter. We can take 2 here and then see what we draw. So a 6-5, and then we top deck a land. So let's go ahead and send it back. We do have 15. So I think we need to threaten that block. And then chump. We lose everything. They're left with a 6-5 and a 1-1. We have to block both. So here we are. Yep. So, yeah, and here's how that ends. We have drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of our 16 lands. So I think we can actually, with this deck, go down to 15. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do here. So you saw the amount of blood that we were able to rummage away all those lands. But still with 16, we ended up with too much. So because we have double Bleed Dry, which costs double black, we'll go ahead and get rid of a mountain And we can put in Belligerent Guest, another Gluttonous Guest, a Diregraph Scavenger. I think if we're going down a land, we probably want to bring in a 3-drop based on our options. I think we'll go ahead and go with another Gluttonous Guest here. So let's hope we don't flood out. Again, as I mentioned, we are protected a little bit against flood with this deck because of all the blood tokens, yet we lost to flood. So I'd go ahead and rename the channel Never Lucky. It seems pretty fitting for how this format has gone for us so far. For those of you that don't know too much about me, I will say that I've been keeping track of my win percentage over the past year and a half after doing over 300 drafts, and it sits at about 57.8% on average over the last year and a half with over 2,000 games played. I've actually made Mythic several times. I made Mythic number 56 in Limited was the highest I ever reached. So things will change. This will hopefully move up as time goes on, but I really do think this has been a little bit of an unlucky stretch for us here. So go ahead and re-enter the queue here. Something's kind of glitching out on us. Okay, 2-drop, 3-drop. We have a removal spell if we need it. Can't imagine they'll play a 1-drop we absolutely need to remove, but let's see. And they don't, so let's play our 2-drop here. So this isn't a vampire, so we can't remove something with Retribution just yet. They play a 3-1. So let's get in there. Are they going to discard a card just to prevent 2 damage? I doubt it. Or are they going to trade? I'm fine with the trade. Sure. Then we'll play our guest. Makes our scavenger really good next turn because we can go ahead and exile their spirit. So let's just go ahead and do that. And no attacks. So this can't attack us, because it can't attack alone unless they play a haster. Okay, good target for our bolt. And whenever it or another creature you control dies, gain a life. So this won't be dying because we will have Flame Blessed Bolt. Unfortunately, we can only cast 1 spell in our hand right now. So what I want to do is use this blood to get rid of the swamp. And we do find the mountain, which is a great draw. So we can play Retribution and Bolt here. Retribution, target vampire you control deals damage. So it would be a 2-power creature. We can kill the bystander and then bolt the trainee. Or we can play Celebrant and then bolt the trainee. I think I want to go ahead and use my mana to get rid of some of these creatures while we can. So let's go ahead. I think I actually want to go ahead. Maybe we can go ahead and use Retribution to kill the trainee. Creatures you can control, vampire, yeah, and we'll bolt this to exile this in case they want to try to remove that somehow, or recur that somehow. So then we'll use Retribution. We'll do both. We'll have vampire deal damage to trainee. And then we can get in there with the scavenger. And also the guest. Maybe they'll just bounce the guest, but that'll let us assure we get in for 3. Because they won't be attacking us back. They could trade as well, that's fine. Okay, so we have good blocks against that boar at least. Let's play our statuette here. And we can't use the blood because we want to keep our creature down. So unfortunately we'll just let that sit. But we do have flood protection for at least one more land here. They'll play a flyer, which is a little hard for us to deal with. We can abrade it now though. And then attack. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll get in with the Blood Petal Celebrant. So we are at a bit of mercy of the top of our deck here, but we shall see what we're able to draw. So it has +1/+0 and Vigilance. When it dies, return it to the battlefield transformed to me. Okay, so if we don't block this now, this is going to keep getting trained. Although our creatures will enter the battlefield tapped for the rest of the game. Okay, I think we just need to try to trade here. Okay, so our creatures are going to enter tapped, and now they get to create 2/1/1 flyers. We can go ahead and kill the rural recruit now. And then get in for 2. And then we're going to go ahead and lose to another rare. So yeah, we could play this and have no attacks. So looks like this one will get away from us as well due to another rare here, of which we have none. So this has been great. They make the 4/4. We play a tapped 3/3, have no blocks, and then every turn they just keep churning out 4/4s. So, don't think we can get through that. I think this is the rare we've played against the most. It's just a 4-mana 3/5, which is just fine. And finds your splash color. And that's just going to go ahead and allow us to pack it in. So let's see if we can rally here. Alright, so we are on the play here. Good news for us. I think I'll go ahead and play Celebrant on 2. It attacks a little better on this board. Next turn, if we draw a land, we can play Statuette, loot away the land, and attack with it. As we do, so let's go ahead and make that play. Although we can also just transform this as well, which is pretty appealing because then the following turn we can return something with Courier Bat if we need to. I think I like that a little better because this has haste, so we can get in there with a haster. So let's loot away this land. And we'll go ahead and transform that to a 3/3. Pretty good exchange for them there. Let's see. So I think I'm going to hold on to the land after we play the guest so that we can use the blood token next turn. Let's go ahead and attack. So they will double block to trade. I could just play a 2/2 flyer. But let's play our Gluttonous Guest here. And next turn, we can return the Ragged Recluse now. Using the bat after looting away our land. So let's go ahead and gain this life here. Play our land, play the bat, return the Recluse. And it's a little bit too much value for them. So we can only win when our opponent gets stuck on 2 lands. Sounds good to me. Opponents, you need to get stuck on 2 lands more. You got to start somewhere if you're going to come back. Let's get that 1 win. Let's see if we can keep going. So this is a bit dangerous because this Bleed Dry is so far away from being cast. But I hate mulliganing in Limited. We also have a removal spell if we need it here. Not a bad draw. So we could lose something away, but we have a lot of blood payoffs in our decks, so I think we'll go ahead and keep that for now. And then we will... So now that I remember that this actually has haste, let's give it to this in case they have 2 damage to target attacking creature, which it looks like they do. So we'll just spread out the damage here, see if they want to kill anything. And they don't. Okay, that's not great news for us. We don't have a vampire with enough power to kill that. So we could bleed dry and get in for 3. But I just don't know if bleed drying this is worth it, knowing what we need to save that for, right? So I think I'm going to go ahead and pass. Holding up bleed dry, if they don't play a good target for it, I'll loot away this mount and see what we can find. Fortunately, that means we don't have great attacks here, though, so... yeah, let's just pass. Okay. So if we bleed dry this, it won't die. Is it worth doing that, however? I'm gonna go ahead and risk it here. I mean, they might have something that's better on the backswing, but let's go ahead and get rid of this. We do have double removal spell now, which is good. Although they do have 5 mana, so they could have something that has more toughness. Yikes. Okay, so that is a hard card to get through. Good thing is we have a Braid, so we can get rid of it. And I think we're going to have to, because otherwise I don't think we're going to be able to beat a boarded window. So what this does is basically now if we don't get rid of this, we can attack for 1 each turn. And that's about it. So let's get rid of... So I could use the bolt on this, but Retribution actually seems pretty good because we're able to use the Epicure on that as well. They could discard a card to blink it, but then we have the bolt as backup if we wanted that as well. So let's get rid of the window. And then plan to use Retribution on our turn on the Spirit. Holding up bolt. Drawing more lands. So, Vampire deals damage to that. Do they want to blink it? Is that a human? It's not. Okay, so they are going to blink it. So we can get in for 5. And then we can put a stop on our end step to try to remove it again. Or stop on their end step. When does it return? At the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so if the end step triggers and then we do it, it won't be able to block. Even if they choose to blink it. Let's hope they're kind of blanking here. We might need to bolt that instead. I think we will. Yeah, so they still won't have 3 cards in their graveyard if we bolt this. And this exiles, so they won't gain life. Let's hope we don't top deck another land here. Right on cue. I mean, I'm running 15 lands. What more do you want me to do here? I'm not sure what else I can do. Go ahead and play one of them. 6, 7, 8. So that's not a vampire. We can Gift of Fangs it. They will gain to... They will draw a card. But if we don't Gift of Fangs, we have no plays. So, sure. So they still have the deal 2 damage to an attacking creature, which means it's going to be even harder for us to get through. Alright, so there's at least access to a blood token. So we can get rid of this. See what we can find. So Still not great attacks, and they have a lot of toughness. They have 3 cards in hand. We got them down to 4, but that might be as far as it's able to get, is unfortunately the problem here. So, yeah, there's another one. 9 lands now. We have just 6 left in our last 22 cards. So when this dies, we get a blood token, which could be nice. I may just trade it for the blood token now. Trade it with the recruit and put the Epicure on the boar. Because I think they wouldn't attack with this boar if they didn't have a trick. And the Epicure is not going to get any better value than trading for a trick. They might try to save their recruit with the trick here. But I'll take that blood token in return. So they just let that happen. Whenever a creature dies, you gain... Oh, so they gain 2 life and draw a card. That's not great news for us. Lay to Rest is going to be a little difficult to deal with here. They have 5 cards and we have 0. Okay. Another boarded window. Thank God we were able to get rid of the first one, but either way, I don't think we can get through another one. The Sanguine Statuette here. And an Alluring Suitor. So we can't attack with the Guest because it's a 0/4 and they can double block and kill it. We attack with the Statuette, it's a 2/3. We'll just play out our creatures. Don't really see a way we can get through these artifacts and enchantments on their side of the board here now, so. But we'll play to our outs here. Maybe this card's just better than I think. I feel like it's a little finicky to set up, but every time our opponents cast it, I think except one, which has been about 5 times, they have gotten a 2-for-1 out of it. So we still have no attacks. We can bleed dry their Slinger, which doesn't allow them to train. I think that's what we have to do. If we do that, we are able to attack, even though we can't deal any damage. We could flip the Suitor, which is nice. So, see if we can do that. So they do still have 2 damage to an attacking creature, which would trade for our Gluttonous Guest, unfortunately. But it's going to trade for something here at some point. It would also trade for our Suitor, because the Cadet would bounce it. Well, yeah, we're not in any better position here to do much about this. So let's transform it. I mean, we're not tricking anyone into bluffing here. We have no cards in hand, so it's just destroy target attacking creature. That's all it is. So let's go ahead and do this because we have no other option. They'll bounce it. And with our deck of nothing but commons and uncommons, I'm not seeing a way out of this here with all the value that they're getting, flying, all that kind of stuff. So here we are. Yeah, we just have to go ahead and gift to Fangs one of their riders. It's a human? Didn't think that was a human. Maybe we can deck them by killing all their humans. Okay, so we'll get in with everything. They'll train all of their things. We'll go ahead and eat that. That's the best we can do right now. They seem to be flooding out. which doesn't really matter because we don't have much of a board to do anything about it. So here we are. Let's do another land. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we have 5 lands out of 16 cards. No longer have good blocks, so here we're going to take 9 and then just die next turn. What do they give Death Touch to? That? Okay, so we can block that. Alright. Don't think it matters, but we'll go ahead and play that. See what happens here. So we don't die with this. I think they might have missed lethal here, so let's go ahead and bounce and trade. Go to 1. And now we're dead to the rider if we don't top deck removal. So and a fitting way to end it, drawing 1 more land. Alright, well, I'm sorry about the poor results on this channel so far. I'm really not seeing what I'm doing differently that's changing the results here. Like I mentioned in the middle of the draft there, I'd like to think of myself as a much better player than this, but here's another 1-3. So I really don't know exactly what to do differently. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave in the comments. That'd be great. Maybe I'm missing something, but, you know, as we just talked about there, I'm playing 15 lands in this deck, and I think I drew 12 of them. So maybe that's the thing that's kind of doing it for us, but everyone deals with that. So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but yeah, if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. Looks like that'll do it for today's video. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow for a daily draft.